Hey, welcome back to DIY Willy. Today, if you saw my post about the BAJA RZR, I put the engine in. I needed to test fit the engine. I needed to know if it would fit and how it would fit, or if any changes need to be made. Spikey's over there being loud. Well, a lot of changes need to be made, and we're gonna get to those changes right now. But we gotta get the engine out. So let's talk about those changes for a minute. There's a picture of the engine. Now you may say, it's not gonna fit, Willy. Well, you know what? It will fit. You gotta have an open mind. Yes, it's big than what was supposed to be in here, but it will fit. What needs to be done is the engine needs to go back about 5.5 inches, needs to go down about 3-4 inches, and it needs to come to this left side, or right side, excuse me, this right side about 3 inches. So that poses a couple problems. Let's take a look at those problems. So this bar that I put in here, this tube, I made this and put this in before I had the engine and all the dimensions of the engine. So it's too small. It's not enough room right here. It needs to be about 6 more inches back this way. So we can do that. You know, we can do that. We can cut the welds. We can cut here, recope it, and move this bar, this tube back here about 6 inches. That'll give us room for our engine to come back the 5 inches or 5.5 that we need there. And I'm getting that 5.5 dimension from the transmission. This is about 6 inches right here, and it needs to come back as close as I can get it to the transmission. This is in the way. This tab right here for the engine mount is in the way of the clutch. So once it goes down and goes to the right side about 4 inches, then that will clear and it won't be a problem. That'll come back over here somewhere. You know, it'll be closer to the engine or to the transmission. That way we can align the clutch. But that makes for another big problem that I have to figure out. And all these, I mean, this is not a big deal. It's changing a lot on the chassis, on the RZR chassis, but it's not a big deal. We've already made big changes to it already anyway. So that poses another problem. I knew that this shock mount wasn't going to be permanently here because I knew the engine was going to live here somewhere. So now that the engine's coming back down and over, this shock can't stay there. It can't stay in this position. It's got to be moved back also. Now we're changing, when moving the shock, we're changing the whole geometry of the suspension travel. You know, the shock used to be at an angle this way, and as the arm would roll up, the shock would collapse in, you know, and that's how the suspension worked, and that's how you got your maximum travel. I've already changed the geometry of the suspension and the travel of the suspension by putting the shock in this orientation. It will still work, but it's not going to have the same travel, probably not the same function as much as having the shock in this configuration. So as I was saying, we have the problem now where the engine is going to live where the shock is at. What I'm thinking about doing, we don't want to make it so that we can't buy regular RZR trailing arms, because you want to be able to buy replacements easily. You don't want to have custom parts that you only one of. So what I'm thinking of doing is making a relocation bracket that would bolt here and then bolt back here in this existing hole and give me this whole area here to come up with a shock mount that I can reposition the shock far back this way and come up, and then the shock will come on. If this was back here now, then the shock will come up into this location right about here, but in this area here. the shock. So Willy's got a lot of work to do, a lot of fabrication, and yeah, I need to get started. I need to get going. That little setback is gonna be a lot more work, but it's not a problem. We can do it. That's what we do here on DIY Willy. We will figure it out, and we will make it work. And yeah, what I need to do first though is get the engine out so that we have the room to work. I don't want the extra weight in there of the engine, and it's not that much. The engine didn't drop the body that much. So yeah, let's get the engine hoist over here and get this engine out. Up, and away. Okay, here we go. Up and away. We lift the engine out. It wants to naturally come towards me. I'll just hold it. It's not that heavy. Oh, I forgot about the roof. The garage door. Darn it. I gotta let it back down. Gotta fix that. Oh man, this is gonna be bad. Let me close that garage door a little bit. I like to have had my chain hoist over here on this side to make it a lot easier. Okay, there we go. We got it out. Now we'll just pull it back. We'll put it on the engine stand. This over there. Come on now. Put the engine right there. Move it over a little bit. Ta-da! We're done. Whew. It's a lot of work by yourself. But yeah, now, okay. Yeah, so now I need to cut this, cut that, cut these vertical bars out. Get the shock mounts, cut here, and extend it. But first, I need to get the frame back on the garage floor and put my leveling jacks underneath to get the frame level again. Since we're going to do more frame work. We'll get it level, and then it's just easier to work on like that. Alright, let me get this figured out. Kind of got everything put away, got the engine out. Now we'll, I see oil right here. I gotta see where that oil was coming from. See that oil? I don't know where that oil was coming from. Hope I didn't crack that block. Or that oil pan. Anyway. Yeah. Got a lot of work coming up. And I don't think I can get to this today. But I needed to get, this is my only time I had to get the engine out, and then I may set the frame up on the stands again to get it level, and yeah, then we'll start looking at getting things cut. I have to have it level because when I take the shock mounts off, I don't want everything to drop. You know, I have to have support for the rear suspension, so that's what the jack stands will be underneath it. We'll set them at the right height. all will be good. Yeah.